Sales Scripter, how can I help you?
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Hey, Mike. With Wealth Management. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. See, and the reason for the call this morning, Mike, is because we're offering a complimentary portfolio review for investors interested in risk management approaches. So, this firm released a report recently entitled, in which we identified 6 potential risks to the market. We just like to discuss, Mike, how those risks can affect your portfolio at a more appropriate time for you. Is that something that you'd be open to?
I'm not actively looking to do any investing right now.
Okay, so what I could do just briefly, Mike, is just to send out a little bit more information about my team and our firm, and then we can circle back up at a more appropriate time for you.
Okay.
Great. So what's the best physical mailing address, Mike? I'll send this out to you.
Is it something you could email me or?
If you prefer email, yes. What's the best email address, Mike?
Sure. It's my first initial last name. I guess you have that. I don't know what list you pulled me off of, but first initial last name at salescripter.com.
Great. And Mike, just briefly, so we could be a little bit better prepared for when, in fact, we do circle up with you, do you have any specific financial concerns at this point? So, for example, retirement planning, asset allocation, or growth?
I'm currently with a financial advisor and pretty happy with all that stuff.
All right, then, Mike, I will let you right to it. Sounds like you're in good hands.
Okay.
Take care.
All right, bye.
All right, so I think this guy did a pretty good job. I think that some things he did well. I think he had a really good tone. He was very friendly, didn't sound like a pushy salesperson, sounded fairly confident in what he was doing, sounded like he was experienced, either experienced as a salesperson, experienced as a cold caller, experienced as a business person. So definitely he made a good impression. He also did some really good stuff that I like regarding objection handling. I gave him a couple objections, and we're going to talk about those here towards the end of this review, which is always what I like to do. But he ended up asking some questions, which is always what I want you to do. If you only take one tip from me, it's that when you get objections, respond to the objections by asking questions. And you can look for our objection handling training module to find out more on that. So let's talk about some things that didn't go so well. First of all, what was his close? He was trying to close me for a complimentary portfolio review. And when he was talking about that, and go back and listen to the call again if you want to hear that again, but he threw a lot at me. Complimentary portfolio review. He talked to me about 6 things that are challenges, or some list of 6 things, and he referenced somebody. So what was that all about? He threw a lot at me. And the big problem that I have is that a complimentary portfolio review, I don't think that should be what he should be closing for. If you've watched any of our training, I like to break this early sales process down into 3 steps. Initial contact, setting an appointment, or that could just be simply having a conversation. And step 3 is the presentation, and that could be a demonstration. It could be the delivery of a proposal, or step 3 could be a complimentary portfolio review. So in my opinion, I think if that is definitely a step that he wants to take someone through and it's complimentary, then that should have been the 3rd step, and he shouldn't have been trying to close for that right away. He should have been just trying to start the conversation with me. So I think there was room for improvement. Getting that in there just made the call a bit clunky. But now let's talk about some objections that I gave him. By the way, every time you listen to it, think back on one of your cold calls, whether you have a call recording or not, think back on what were the objections that came up. How did I respond to them? How did that prospect respond to my responses? So let's look at what objections I gave him. So first of all, I told him real early on, I'm not investing right now, right? So that's a very common objection. Either we're not looking to buy, we're all good, we're not making any changes. Very common objection. He responded to this by offering to send out information, which I not only do I think this was a bad response, but it sounded like he preferred to send me a bunch of stuff in the mail. So I'm telling him I'm not even interested, and he's going to go and spend time putting stuff together and actually spending money to send me stuff. I was confused by that. I even preferred email, which seemed to rub him the wrong way. But needless to say, there's a better way to respond to I'm not investing right now. His goal is to start a conversation. So the fact that I'm not investing right now isn't even relevant. There's reasons for him and I to have a conversation even without me investing right now. And then that way, when I am ready to invest, maybe he can be at the top of my list. So he needs to find a reason to start the conversation, and he can certainly find that by asking some questions. So when I said I'm not investing right now, he could have said, "Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Hey, did you invest in the past? When were you investing? What kind of things did you do?" That would be great questions, very conversational. By the way, I probably would have been interested in talking about that to him because, investing's kind of fun, and if he's an expert, it would have been interesting to exchange notes with him. So that would have been a good thing to start the conversation. In fact, if we started having good back and forth, then he could have closed me on step 2, which would be closing for a conversation or appointment. He could have said, "I love what you did in the past. Let's talk about this in more detail. I want to share some examples with you about someone who did what you were doing and they did it a little differently and whatever." Actually, after I started talking about him mailing this stuff, he actually did end up asking me a question, which was, "Do you have any specific financial concerns?" Now, he got to that in a clunky way. Like, he could have asked me that question instead of talking about mailing me stuff, but he did get to asking me a question. Now, personally, I think that was not a good question. Let me repeat the question for you. He asked, "Do you have any specific financial concerns like asset allocation?" He listed out like 3 or 4 things. I personally think the question was too broad of a question. And to give you another example of, I don't think it's good to ask very broad questions, especially not in cold calling. A question like, "What keeps you up at night?" or "What's your biggest challenge?" You're putting the effort and energy for someone to think on the prospect side. So when you say, "What's your biggest challenge?" I mean, here we are on the phone. I wasn't expecting his call, and he's asking me to like think about very abstract, what are my challenges or what are my concerns? I would want you to be more specific with your pain probing question. So it was good that he asked a question. The question wasn't great. And then I ended up telling him, so this could maybe be another objection. My response to that question was that I'm pretty happy with the asset allocation because I'm already working with a financial advisor. So he shut down right after I gave him that objection, and he basically ended the call. Now, in his defense, that was my second objection. So I would say that, typically if you get 2 or 3, if after 2 or 3 objections, you can begin to walk away. So I understand him kind of saying, "Hey, sounds like you're good." But to be honest with you, it felt a bit early to me. And when I said I'm currently working with a financial advisor, that again also is a very common objection, which is we already use somebody, we already purchase from someone, we already have something in place. You can't just run away when that objection comes up, especially if you sell financial advisory services or if you sell something that people are likely already buying or already working with someone. It's like if you sell something that's really unique and new on the market, sure, you can go out there and look for the people that don't have it already. But if you sell something that's currently being purchased a lot, you have to be ready for the "I'm currently working with someone." And there's very easy responses to that he could have asked, and it wouldn't have been pushing the call too long. But when I said I'm currently working with someone, he could have said, "Oh, great, yeah, no problem at all. Let me ask you, how long have you been working with him? Do you mind if I ask what advisory firm they're with? Do you mind if I ask what types of vehicles he has you in?" Hey, no problem at all. I would be curious to know what types of returns he's gotten you over the past 3 years. There's just they're very easy conversational questions that you can ask someone that's not real threatening about what they're currently doing today. I call those questions current environment questions. What are you using today? How's it going? What are some things you like? What are some things you don't like? He could have easily asked me that and kept the conversation going, not only gotten around that objection, but also could have found a reason for us to again have a conversation, and then he could have closed me on an appointment. So let's say he asked me, "Oh, who are you working with?" And let's say I mentioned a certain firm. He could have said, "Oh man, those guys charge really high fees. Are you concerned about at all about their fees, or they hide their fees in a certain way? I want to share some examples with you on how they hide fees. Anyways, then through his questions, he could have he could have found a reason to start a conversation, and then he closes me for starting the conversation, not for his portfolio review, but he could say, let's have a conversation. I want to share something with you. It's probably like a 10-15 minute chat. If you're free, we can do it right now. I just want to make sure you're available because I called you up out of the blue, or I can call you this afternoon or tomorrow morning. Then we meet, we have a conversation, we build rapport a little more, and then he can close me on his portfolio review or whatever he wants to mail me or whatever. That would be the better process. But overall, I think he's a pretty good guy. I think he did a good job. I think if he makes these calls enough times, he's probably going to find some business. But again, you notice there's very small things that he could have changed that are very easy to do. He doesn't have to act like someone else that he's not. He doesn't have to get years of experience. It's just about asking certain questions and changing up his responses a little bit to keep the conversation going, and also changing what he's closing for, and change his early sales cycle stage processes that he's sort of taking a prospect through. Probably could see different results. Again, who knows? He maybe could have started a conversation with me. Probably not, but I think the call could have gone better. Anyways, I hope that helps. Look out for more call examples on our podcast and our YouTube channel, and let us know if you have any questions. Good luck. Happy hunting.